Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Kristen Smith. A proposed $100 million settlement in Pennsylvania's northern tier to offer service upgrades and consumer refunds for low-quality phone and internet service may soon move forward. Joining me today is the Center Square's Pennsylvania reporter, Anthony Hennon. Anthony, what is this settlement about? And tell us about the company behind it.
Yeah, so this is a result of a year-long investigation launched by the Office of Consumer Advocate and Small Business Advocate, looking into internet and phone service problems up in the northern tier. And the company is Frontier, which is a fairly large multi-state corporation. They offer a lot of different phone and internet services. But in the northern tier, we've seen a lot of customer complaints, which led to this investigation. State legislators would receive hundreds of complaints, they said, every year, and got tired of being an unofficial customer service office for the company. And they throughout last year, they held different public meetings and fact gatherings and trying to get to the bottom of this. What has resulted in this of dealing with frequent telephone outages, internet service quality problems, isolation. Basically, we've seen a proposal for a $100 million settlement that would bring in different sorts of upgrades to the company's infrastructure up there, to offering reimbursements and credits to customers, basically trying to find a way to fix this without necessarily bringing on a full lawsuit.
And so these service interruptions that you're talking about, I mean, we're not just saying, oh, this was weak Wi-Fi, so you couldn't scroll TikTok. I mean, this is at times life and death, right?
Yeah, I mean, we would hear concerns ranging from, someone's, 90-year-old grandfather living alone and not being able to reach him over the phone for days because service is out. We would hear stories of police departments or fire departments not having a reliable phone service. We'd hear stories about, education was a big problem of kids couldn't do homework at home. They would have to drive miles to go to a McDonald's or to a school parking lot to get on Wi-Fi. We'd hear stories, ranging all across from, businesses losing tens of thousands of dollars simply because they could not, be available to talk with customers or take orders or anything else. This ranges from not having Netflix to not being able to call the fire department or a police station or an ambulance when something went wrong.
Sounds like from your reporting, though, that not everybody thinks that this settlement is sufficient enough to resolve some of these issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the public comments that the Office of Consumer Advocate has received, and this is a case before the Public Utility Commission, these comments sort of range from generally supportive to resigned and annoyed. A lot of people would say this is a grand gesture and a small start. It's too little, too late. It seems like this is one of those things where the northern tier is not heavily populated. It doesn't have a lot of political sway. It doesn't have a lot of economic power. And so people are sort of resigned to, not really getting what they think they deserve, or, just getting Frontier might get a slap on the wrist and things will go on. And maybe things will improve, but they're very skeptical of, accountability following through or people really being made whole by this. So, it's $100 million in upgrades over the next few years is what Frontier is committing to. We'll probably see some improvements, but, this is customers being frustrated after weeks, months of poor service and frustrations of dealing with the company. And I would phrase it as a long uphill slog to really get public trust again, either in the process to really improve this or with dealing with Frontier in the first place.
So looking forward, as federal investment for broadband expansion comes into Pennsylvania over the next few years, is this something that could help benefit that region?
Ideally, yes. I think this is exactly the type of region where this federal money is coming in to connect in, because, if you don't have reliable broadband service or internet service at the police station, at a fire department, at a hospital or a business, it's very hard to grow a business already existing there. And it's also hard to attract people in. The Pennsylvania Broadband Development Authority has not yet made its award announcements, so we're not quite sure how much money will flow into the region. But Ideally, yes, this seems to be exactly the type of situation where we want to see this money go to underserved and unserved areas where it's not necessarily profitable for a large company to come in and constantly update or build out the service there. But this federal broadband money is generally meant to improve basic levels of service to make sure these communities are viable, to make sure they have reliable internet, and to make sure they can build for the future.
Anthony, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
He ran for state office and was beaten. Started a business and failed. Ran for Congress and lost. But thankfully, Abraham Lincoln didn't give up. Persistence. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.